When you buy a pup, you have a very small window of opportunity to teach it the 5 most important things a pup needs to learn to enable it to fit into your life and your home. Those 5 things are: do not toilet in the house, do not chew the furniture, sleep through the night, don't bite me, and respond to your name. First time, every time. Those are the 5 issues that the majority of new dog owners have with their dogs, the problems that they have with their dogs. So let's look first of all at toilet training. There is only one effective way to toilet train your dog, and that is you have to put your dog outside every 2 hours. Now, a pup doesn't know it's not supposed to pee or poo in the house. That's the first thing. A pup doesn't know it's supposed to pee or poo outside. They have got no concept of what's supposed to happen. All they will simply do is when they're ready to go for a pee, they'll go for a pee. When they're ready to have a poo, they'll have a poo. So it's a timing issue every time we toilet train him. Now, unfortunately, the problem is that putting your dog out every 2 hours means that you have to do this during the night as well. So you have to be prepared to get up every couple of hours to put the dog out. Now, you would only, if you were consistent with your approach and you're consistent with this approach, you would only have to do this for about 2 weeks. And that's it.
Do you have to go outside with your dog?
You have to go outside to make sure your dog has toileted. A lot of people just put the dog outside, close the door, and then expect the dog to have done something, then bring the dog in, bring the pup in, and then the pup goes over to the corner and has a pee, and you think, God, I've just put it outside. The problem with putting a pup outside on its own is it doesn't want to be outside on its own. It's a social creature. It doesn't want to be left on its own outside. So immediately you put it out, within a couple of minutes, it's had a little sniff round, it'll come and start whining at the back door. And you'll think, oh, it's done it now, it's finished, what's to come in? And it hasn't. So, religiously, you have to take your dog outside, and when your dog toilets, you have to give it a food reward, a high value food reward. Now, if you put your dog in the kitchen and go to bed, there's a distinct possibility that your dog is going to toilet in the kitchen. Because you will not be able to get downstairs quick enough if you hear it whinging and whining to get it outside. So you have to be close to the pup for the first couple of weeks until the pup recognizes that it will be put outside to toilet. And it's a simple process, but it means a change in what you do for a few weeks. But that's a pup. That's what happens. So the pup has to go outside every 2 hours. And if you consistently approach this correctly, it will work. You will have trained your pup within 2 weeks. I've been out to see dogs that are still 2-year-old dogs, 3-year-old dogs, still toileting in the house because it's a timing issue. The dog doesn't recognize that it has to go outside because it hasn't been taught to. So the next important thing is that you have to reduce the amount of area that you allow the pup to have. So, for example, if you allow the pup to have the whole of the ground floor, which will be the lounge, the dining room, the kitchen, perhaps the conservatory, the utility room, in any of those areas, unsupervised, the dog's going to toilet. So you have to reduce the area that you allow the pup to function in. that will achieve two things. You will always know where the pup is. You will always be able to connect with the pup every couple of hours to put it outside. And most importantly, you will put it in a position where it won't be chewing your furniture. And that's the next biggest thing. A pup doesn't know what a toy is. We go, oh, buy the pup some toys, it'll chew toys. Yeah, it'll chew it for a couple of minutes. But if it's on the floor next to the table leg, it'll stop chewing the toy and start chewing the table leg. Now, it's not doing this on purpose, and it's not doing this to wind you up, and it's not doing this because it's destructive. Young pups learn about their world through their mouths. And this will go on for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Because it's a combination of the pup teething and in a great many cases, the pup's bored. It's got nothing to do. So it'll go and find something to chew. And that can be shoes, it'll be the TV remote, it'll be your mobile phone, it will be anything. So you have to reduce the area that you allow the pup to stay in.
Would it just be a room or?
Well, if you say a room, like let's say the kitchen, for example. Yeah. If you just keep the dog in the kitchen, then there's a likelihood that the dog will toilet in the kitchen. But there's generally nothing in the kitchen that the dog can eat because there's not much on the floor. But if you reduce the area to half the kitchen, because don't forget, they're only tiny little pups, or even a quarter of the kitchen. The smaller the space you allow the dog to function in, the more control you've got over the dog. So then you can take some toys, some high value toys or food rewards, and put them in this reduced area so the dog can play with the toys that you have provided and not get confused about what he or she can and can't play with. Because that's the biggest problem. When they start destroying furniture, they don't know it's a couch. They don't know it's a table leg. They don't know it's a phone. They don't know anything. And if you leave it lying about, they're going to chew it. It's just that simple. So, by restricting the amount of area the dog has, you will be in control of toileting, and you will be in control of the pup destroying property. So you'll be able to prevent it from destroying the property. The third thing that is really difficult is to try and get the pup to sleep through the night. Now, pups have got body rhythms the same as humans. So when it goes dark, they'll fall asleep. That's what they do. Now, if you've got them in a restricted area, they may whine because they need to go to the toilet. So you have to be ready then to take them outside. But they will also whinge and whine if there's nobody there. Because they've just come from a culture where they've been surrounded by their littermates, their brothers and sisters. So for the first 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks of their life, they've spent in a huge bundle of fluffy pups to be taken somewhere to be left on their own. So if they wake up during the night and there's nobody there, they're going to scream and squeal. So you have to provide a situation or a circumstance where you are next to the pup. So when the pup wakes up, you can either get it out to toilet or you can just reassure it, shh, just reassure it. Yes?
But how long should you do that for? A night or a week or?
If you do it properly and if you do it consistently, you don't have to do it for 2 or 3 weeks. And then the pup gets it. The problem with the squealing and the whinging and the whining at night is that the pup has got no concept of whether you are going to come back or not. It doesn't know. It doesn't know what's happening. It's on its own. It's dark. So somebody has to be there to reassure the pup, to make sure the pup recognises that there's somebody there. 2 or 3 weeks, do this consistently, and then eventually you can spend more time away from the pup. So then the pup recognises, oh, she'll be back in 10 minutes, or he'll be back in 10 minutes. And once they've got that picture, then that's fine. But this shouldn't take you longer than 2 or 3 weeks. So, then we have biting. Pups bite. That's what they do. They don't do it to be aggressive. They do it because they play. And that's how they play with their litter mates, by getting a hold of each other by the tail, by the leg or whatever, and rolling about the floor and playing. Now, if you mess about with your pup by shaking its head or ragging it about a lot, it will bite you because it's playing back. So you're playing with it like this, and it's playing with you by biting you. That's what they do. It's just that. So if you don't want your pup to bite you, don't mess about with it. Now, people generally handle pups slightly differently. So the male of the house will probably be on the floor with the pup, rolling about, putting its hand in its mouth and saying, well, you think you're a tough little monkey, don't you? It's play fighting. The pup learns to bite. Generally, the lady of the house will want to pick the dog up and cuddle it, put it on its knee. Some dogs don't mind this happening. Some dogs just do not like it and will squirrel about to try and get away. And if you don't let them get away, they'll bite you. So don't pick them up and put them on your knee. Just leave them on the floor. And then children do the whole gamut of messing with the dog, running about, squealing, trying to kiss it, trying to cuddle it, and then when the dog bites, they run off and jump on the sofa, and then the dog chases them, and the dog's up on the sofa barking, and it becomes a nightmare. So if you don't want your pup to bite you, don't mess with it. Just leave it alone. Now, that's not to say that you can't stroke it. However, it is to say that you should not roughhouse your pup, or pick your pup up, or try and squeeze it, or kiss it, because that's not what they're there for. And some pups don't get it. And finally, pup's name. The pup needs to respond to its name. Now, the sound of its name, the pup will begin to understand quite quickly, within a matter of a couple of days or so. But if there's no advantage to the pup responding to its name, then the pup will not respond. So, for example, if you do not provide the dog with a reward for responding to its name, it'll stop responding. So for the first 2 or 3 weeks of ownership, do not say your pup's name unless you've got a food reward, because the pup has to understand that its name means food.
Is that all the time, everywhere you are?
All the time,
the
everywhere.
house?
Yes. In the house, outside. The likelihood is the pup, but if you do this in the garden as well, call the pup's name, the pup will run up. They'll do it. They'll get it. If there's food involved, they'll get it. So many people bring their pups to me and they say, I've got selective hearing. They haven't. They've heard the sound that's associated with their name, but they choose to ignore it because we use it too often without a reward. So the pup goes, oh, well, that sound again, getting out for it, so I'll just carry on eating the TV remote or whatever it is. Five very important things. Now, the issue is that it would be nice if we could say, right, we teach that first, we teach toilet training first, then we teach sleeping through the night, and we do it sequentially. You can't. You have to do the 5 things all at the same time. But if you do them consistently and you put a bit of work into it and you recognize that for 3 or 4 weeks your life, home life, is going to be different, if you put the work in after 4 weeks, you should not be having any problems at all. Now, going on the internet, Google, or buying a book about it, the problem is that these books are not written specifically for you, for your family, for your specific dog and your house style. They're just general terms. So what I've given you are the most important aspects surrounding toileting, destroying of furniture, sleeping through the night, recognizing the name, and don't bite me. And if you stick to those principles, you have to work out what is possible for you to do in your house. But if you stick to those principles, you'll have success.